Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Hoof Podcast, live on Thursday night.
Yeah.
How's everybody doing tonight? Anthony, thanks for setting everything up, man. I know things have been a little crazy.
It's all good,
Got a new job, right? So there's a lot of adjustments with that. So Anthony's stepping up for me.
I can't just
Absolutely
come and look
appreciate it.
good on camera anymore like I usually do, Eric. I gotta actually do some work for the show, God forbid. For those of you who don't know, Eric does all the technical work for the show usually. And now I'm learning slowly how to do things. So, it helps a little bit.
Yes.
So it's good to be involved and
Yeah.
get
it's
some
looking
work
great.
in. Not
Looking
too bad.
great. Yeah, so I tried to make up for like the dressing, right? Normally you're dressed, to the T.
I'm
So hopefully I
casual
try to
today
fix
because
that.
I was off work today to do some yard work
Oh,
and
I
housework.
see.
Yeah, it had to get done, and I was just like, you know what, I got to take a day because I had to clean
Right.
and organize the garage,
Hey.
put away the Halloween stuff, get down the Christmas stuff,
Right, that's
clean the
adulting
yard. Oh,
101. It's
yeah,
okay to take a
yeah,
day off for yard work. Right.
yeah, right, exactly. Still
We
felt
all
like
do
a
it.
full day of work, just not getting paid for work.
Right. You don't get to relax. You just have to
Yeah.
do other work. Right. Anyway, Bill's 8-2, feeling great.
Woo,
Right.
heck yeah.
Yes. Loving
First time
that.
since 1993 that
Oh,
the Bills are
wild.
8-2. Isn't that
Yes.
nuts? Wow.
On a rebuild year, which is so
You're right.
surprising.
A quote rebuild year. Yeah.
But also, like this, have the Chiefs played in Buffalo in the regular season in the last 7 years?
No, we've played them. Yeah. In KC.
Bills have gone there a lot. So
Yes. Yeah.
also, it kind of feels like a playoff game just because Kansas City's coming to Buffalo.
And they're undefeated,
That's it. That's it.
and I mean, they beat us in Buffalo in the playoffs, obviously, but this does feel a little different. They're undefeated. They're coming
Right.
in. They don't feel like an undefeated team. They're not as daunting as the record, I would say. Just that they've gotten lucky, and they're damn good. Don't get me wrong, but they've gotten very, very lucky in some games where they should have, flip a coin and it could go the other way. Referee help or blocking.
They
a
call
kick
that
or whatever.
finding ways to win.
Yeah,
Chiefs have
yeah.
been calling it, but in reality, I think the calls go your way more times than not. And then let's
Yes.
give them credit, blocking field goals, give them the defense credit for that. They do find ways to win, but it's been weird referee help. I'll just say that.
Exactly. Yes, they always get that benefit of the doubt with the referees without beyond belief. I actually just saw a stat that Hockley's staff, the one who's going to be at the game for the Bills game on Sunday, the Bills Chiefs game, the Chiefs are undefeated. Pat Mahomes is undefeated. He's like 9-0 when Hockley is the lead crew or whatever. So
Right.
Not a good stat to start.
Right.
But
Yeah.
so be it. We know what's going to happen with them. You can't
Right,
let the refs be a factor. You just can't.
So all the tinfoil hat people are, that means something to them.
Yes, definitely.
But again, I feel like it's one of those coincidences just because the Chiefs have won a lot of games, the last, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, the Bills are right there. We're number
Feels
2,
like a
right behind them. Right behind them since 2020, right? They are 1 and we're 2 and, everything pretty much. Points scored and, wins. What was the other thing I saw? Oh, touchdowns. Yeah, Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen are 1 and 2 in touchdowns and yardage. That was one of the Built in Buffalo tweets that went out today. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Pretty epic matchup just in general, just from a 1,000-foot view of looking at the game of football. And actually, I'm going to this game.
Are you? I was going to ask that.
I am, and I'm bringing my buddy Matt, who is not a Bills fan, but is a football fan, and has long given me crap for being a Bills fan. But he is a fan of both Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes. So, bringing him to this Bills Mafia experience, and especially in a game like this where, we're going to get there super early and the game's not till 4:25. We're going to be doing a lot while we're there. So it's going to be a fun time, to say the least. But going with somebody who's not necessarily a Bills fan, but just for this matchup alone, everybody's watching this.
Right.
Everybody's going to be watching this matchup.
It's huge for the fans. I get the hype. And more, look, at the end of the day, this game doesn't matter, right? But, the fact that the Chiefs are undefeated and they're coming to Buffalo, I think it makes it so much more important for the fans, which will, I think, hype up the players once they're in the game because the crowd's going to be wild, right? You know, Pat Mahomes is going to get his hate, right? As he's mentioned before, like Bills fans will be saying stuff to him. So it will be an intense game for that reason. But I think at the end of the day, it matters to Buffalo a lot more than Kansas City. I think we could all agree there. Like if you want a shot speed, Buffalo has to win this game, right? I think they'll be 3 or 4 games down if they lose. But if Bills win, they're what? Within 2. They're within 1 game.
1 game, yeah, because we'll have a tiebreaker.
Huge
so if
swing.
they lose and we win. Now our schedule, that's easy to say, right? But you look at the schedule and you know that we have Detroit and San Francisco still on the schedule as well. And those aren't going to be walk in the park matchups, but certainly capable of overtaking and getting that 1 seed. So that's what any team wants. That first week bye is incredible. And unlucky for the Bills that, of course, the first season they take away 2 byes. We never have gotten the bye, right? So so that would be amazing to get.
Let's break that down a little. So if the Bills get the 1 seed, best case scenario, right? Because you skip the wild card,
correct?
And there's an opportunity that somebody knocks Kansas City out of the playoffs in the wild card round.
Yeah, and I think they will.
Is it likely? I mean, it's possible.
I've been saying that all along. I think Kansas City loses their first playoff game. So we'll see who they match up against, whether they have the bye or not. I think they lose their first playoff game. So,
but the other thing too is if Bills are 1, Kansas City's definitely the 2.
They have to be, yeah. I'd imagine
unless they go on a losing streak,
right? Unless they lose a few, and Baltimore also wins some. So you imagine if they fall to the 3rd seed, that would be amazing.
Well, I'd rather have them at the 2 because then you're not playing them the divisional round. It's not happening.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't see them until the championship round. So it gives teams 2 opportunities to knock the Chiefs out, right? Because really, I think if you're a Bills fan, you're looking at it and saying, yeah, the Chiefs are definitely our biggest threat. The Bills just can't beat them in the postseason. I mean, that could definitely change any year, but if you're looking at history, I mean, you don't want to play them. It's not like they've just beaten the Bills in the playoffs. They beat every team in the playoffs the last few years. So you just don't want to play them.
That's true, but I think this is the year that they're going to lose. And you're right that even if they are the 1 and the Bills are the 2, we wouldn't play until the AFC Championship game, or vice versa. If the Bills are the 1 and the Chiefs are the 2, even if the Chiefs are the 3, we still wouldn't play till the AFC Championship game. So, there's some wiggle room there to avoid the matchup, if you will, or make the matchup at the highest level, right? The 2 best teams in the AFC, in my mind, are the Bills and the Chiefs. If it comes down to those 2 teams, so be it. On the road or at home, you're right. We have to prove that we can beat them in the playoffs. This game is just a regular season game. It's an awesome matchup. It's going to be an incredible game. Anytime Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes go head-to-head, the coaches, right? There's so many layers to this matchup that you could analyze that make it so fun. And as we said, these are the 2 best teams in all of football since 2020. So, I mean, lots to be excited about. And that's why we get the very rare 4:25 home start time in Buffalo to kind of make it a mini national TV game, right? It's going to be on everywhere. So that's one way of, not being in one of the primetime slots, but making it a primetime game.
Right. I think the Bills are on bye week next week. So, but the Patriots play the Panthers. So I guess it's like, I was hoping there'd be a good team that they play. So if the Bills didn't play next week, Kansas City could potentially lose next week, but that doesn't seem to be the case.
Yeah.
But anyway,
they definitely have a schedule that could favor going undefeated if they beat Buffalo.
Yeah.
So
that's a moot point. But I feel like if the Bills are the 2 seed, let's do the other scenario. So the Bills lose to the Chiefs this week. Bills could potentially be really down to the 4 seed. Is the worst, the farthest they can go down. I think at this point, right? They'd be the 4 seed,
right?
And why that's bad? And let's say 3 or 4. They could be 3 or 4. Why that's bad is because now there's a scenario where you have to travel to Kansas City in the divisional round, right? And there's also a scenario where you lose in the wild card game.
Well, right? I do think there's right. So if Kansas City's the 1, and there is a scenario 2 and 3 would be Baltimore and Houston, the other division winners presumably, and then Buffalo, right? 2 teams that we've lost to. So if we all finish with the same record, we lose the head-to-head matchup, we'd be the 4 seed, and then you get through that wild card round, and you're going to face Kansas City likely. So, as you know, if all of those teams
So
win,
that's assuming the 2 and the 3 win.
Correct.
Bills would have to go to Kansas City.
Right. And that's okay with me. I'm okay with that scenario too. Again, I think Kansas City loses their first playoff game. So even if we're the 2 and somebody else is a 4, great. Switch them. They beat Kansas City. We beat whichever one is left and move on.
Yeah. But where we're at now, Kansas City's not going to have a playoff game or wild card round game to lose, right? So it'd be division.
Yes,
but
that's
again,
okay.
So then what happens? Let's say the Bills go to Kansas City and lose. What are we talking about after that? You know what I mean? Like, what are we going to be discussing? What's the headlines after that?
I mean, it's just the unbeatable Chiefs at that point. They're Chiefs three-peat, right? That's what it's going to be about. That's the headline. Right. Doesn't matter who comes out of the NFC. Chiefs are unbeatable, right? So I just don't think this is their year. I don't think this is going to happen for them. They've shown flaws in their game, right? For sure. And there have been holes there. Just people haven't been able to exploit them enough to get a W in them. And especially in the playoffs, they seem to elevate to another level, right? Guys who were missing all season, all of a sudden show up and play well. And I think ultimately you have to beat them in the playoffs. Somebody has to beat them. Somebody. I don't even care if it's the Bills.
Because like I said,
totally okay with it not being the Bills and moving on.
And the Bills fans, we're sensitive to this because our quarterbacks we think is just as good as Pat Mahomes. But he has the rings. Right. I'm sure Bengals fans feel the same way. I'm sure Baltimore fans feel the same way. But it's not just the Bills that are getting beat by the Chiefs in the playoffs. It's every team.
Everybody. Yeah.
Except maybe the Bengals. I mean, they beat them a few times.
Yeah. That's it. Right. So I wouldn't want to play the Bengals in the playoffs, but I'm more comfortable playing the Chiefs because that's a matchup where we know what we're going to get. It's just you have to be better on that day. And again, the Bills haven't been healthy in a playoff matchup with Kansas City, since 13 seconds. And even that game, we had some injuries. So, I mean, to be healthy with our starters going into the playoffs and facing Kansas City, bring it on. Even if they have everybody healthy, as long as we do, I'm don't care where the matchup is. I think that the Bills can beat them. So I'm comfortable with that. And this is just going to be a preview, right? The regular season matchup, the Bills have won 3 of them, right? And then lost to Kansas City when it counts in the playoffs. So more of the same. This is a regular season matchup. It's in Buffalo. Kansas City is not as good as their record says. I think Buffalo wins this game. That's ultimately what it comes down to. Am I that excited about it? Am I going to go crazy because they're undefeated and we beat them? No. My expectation just looking at these 2 teams is the Bills are the better team. They're at home. They should beat them. And come playoff time, that scenario might change. If we're on the road, we're going into Kansas City, they've done something to make themselves stand out, then sure, maybe Kansas City would have the edge. But even the betting line, as you're seeing here, is saying that Buffalo is the favorite at home against this undefeated Chiefs team. That's wild. An undefeated team going on the road, sure, maybe there's a disadvantage there, but they're undefeated. They're playing, an 8-2 team. You'd still expect that Chiefs would be favored, but they're not. Because logically, looking at the teams, the rosters, even Vegas is saying Buffalo should win the game. And again, long term, it's one game. It doesn't really mean much. You got to boil it down to what happens in the playoffs. And seeding is more of what this game is going to imply long term for the season, the regular season.
Yes, then we have quick injury update. So Keon Coleman, Amari Cooper. Coleman hasn't practiced all week.
He's out. Yeah, they've already ruled him out. Yeah,
he's out. Okay. Cooper's been limited.
And he said today that he expects to play. So
okay, so that's a big win. Also, Dalton Kincaid not practicing all week.
Yeah, not good sign for him.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're down Kincaid and Coleman, challenging for sure.
Well, having Cooper back would be good. And
right, I was
we saw guys like Mac Hollins step up a little. We still have Khalil Shakir, and I do think,
the run game is really the key, right?
Right. That's what I was going to say. The run is.
But this is a tough defense. It's going to be hard to move the football.
Sure,
so you need your guys. You know what I mean? I mean, last week we saw Denver get creative. I mean, Marvin Mims was playing running back. It seemed to work too. But again, Denver didn't score in the second half, so it's like I just feel like it's going to be tough to move the
Denver
ball.
is not the Buffalo Bills, okay?
Right.
Like, yeah, that's a divisional opponent. Yes, they play each other tough, but our team is so much better than the Denver Broncos, with or without all of that. You know what I mean? So I do fully expect that, our offense will score more, be able to score more than Denver did. I heard something today, actually, that the Chiefs defense has not given up more than 28 points or 28 or more points in the last 30 games. That's remarkable, crazy to think about. Very good defense. It's like elite level
Right.
since, it's been like 20 something years since the last team to do it. But anyway,
Yeah, the
that
Chiefs
stat alone,
are
the Bills are capable, even without the players that we just discussed, of scoring 28 points on this type of defense. That's just
right
the
because
way I feel.
Josh Allen alone, right?
Correct. Right.
Like,
He's
like
that
they
X factor.
the Chiefs definitely fear Josh Allen. I think that he's
Yes.
proven he can go toe to toe with them. I mean, a lot of the reasons the Bills lose is other factors, not the quarterback. You know what I mean? Um, and they really, I think the Chiefs are an interesting case study, right? And maybe the Patriots were like this, and we're just so far removed from it that we don't talk about it anymore. But I mean, I don't get how they're winning games. I mean, they bring in, Isaiah Pacheco, who's what, a 7th-round pick.
He's
They
hurt.
get
Yeah.
production out of him. These tight ends underneath Kelsey, they're getting tons of production out of them. They bring in receivers off the street. It feels like they've had a lot of bad luck, really. Like,
yeah.
with
I mean,
Rashee Rice,
Yeah.
with some of the other guys that just aren't able to play. But they bring
brought
guys
in
off the
Hollywood
street,
Brown,
and they're
and he gets
right,
hurt.
right.
Yeah.
Hollywood Brown, good point. But they just find ways. Like, okay, D Hop off the street picks up the offense, makes plays day one. It's like I feel like that. And you look at Amari Cooper. Sure, he made a couple plays, but like it's taken a while to get up to speed. So like, I just don't get how the Kansas City Chiefs are always winning these games. It's really just, I think it's Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo. I mean, that experience, they have so much NFL experience between the two of them. It just makes it hard. And the defense is really, really good. In today's league, you don't think about like a superior defense winning games, but really that's what the Chiefs are doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, this year, Pat Mahomes statistically is having one of the worst seasons ever. I think he's like 17th overall in quarterback play right now this year, which is nuts. The fact that he's the best player in football, and yet he's playing, not even top half of his position is wild. And he has a ridiculous number of interceptions this year. The production's not there. He's not playing to his level, basically. We know he can do better. And yet the Chiefs are undefeated. Are you kidding me? How does a team get this lucky? He's playing the worst of his career and they're still undefeated. But that's just the Chiefs for you. That's the organization. Like you said, what are they winning on? It's really their defense this year, right? Kelsey had been here or there, kind of disappearing sometimes, showing up a little bit, but not really majorly. All the injuries you mentioned, they still find a way to win. And it's because they have an elite defense. They really do. Their pass rush, you talk about Chris Jones, you talk about the guys they have, their cornerbacks, McDuffie. I mean, it's a long list of playmakers and guys who really work well together on the field, and not a lot of super high picks. Obviously they've been good for a long time. So, you get a George Karlaftis at the end of the first round, sure, but that's not, to get what you can out of a player like that and not miss, right? And find guys that gel together the right way to continue to move this team forward, even when you neglect the team offensively. They've never signed, they let Tyreek walk. They didn't sign any huge wide receivers. You bring in, like I said, Hollywood Brown, but he gets injured. Rashee Rice, you draft, he gets injured. You draft Xavier Worthy, all of a sudden it becomes one of your top receivers. Right. You trade for Hopkins, yeah. So, I mean, they're finding a way in every way. Every game is different, but they find a way to get it done. Every game, it seems this year, it's not been, Pat Mahomes figured it out at the end of the game. No, it's just the pieces, the dominoes seem to fall their way.
Right.
So we have to break that streak. We have to be the ones that split the dominoes and say, guess what? These ones are standing. The buffalo is standing. So hopefully we're able to do that. And I think, again, just looking objectively at these two teams, I think the Bills can do that. We heralded Kansas City's defense, but I don't think people have been giving McDermott's defense its respect this season and last season for that matter. Dealing with injuries, everything, next man up. This defense has been getting it done when it matters most. And the defense has been keeping us in some of these games as well when the offense is kind of sputtering a little bit, right?
Mhm.
So McDermott's defense is capable of doing great things as well. And we're not going to have Matt Milano back for this game, but he is active in his 21-day window. He is at practice. So that's an amazing sign to see. But this team has still been playing this defense at a very good top 10 level, which is what we expect out of McDermott. And same thing, able to win games on your defense doing everything it's supposed to and your offense finding a way to get points when it needs to, even though it's not clicking on all levels.
Definitely agree. But let's roll through some of these comments here. So Eric Josh Smith, do we have a chance?
Yes, is the
Yes.
answer.
I think Anthony summed that up pretty well. Bills have a chance. Does it really matter? Yeah. If the Bills are really, do they see the benefit in the 1 seed? And that's really what you're playing for, right? If you want the 1 seed, you're playing hard in this game.
Oh, yeah.
Because it swings it so much. You're 4 out versus you're 1 game out from the 1 seed. I think that's a huge swing. So that's absolutely motivation to go and win. It's at home. Kansas City, they have your number in the playoffs. So I think there's a lot of motivation in the Bills locker room to win this game. So when you talk about do they have a chance? Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely. The other teams Kansas City has played have killed themselves as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's why I said you can't let the refs be a factor. If you're only up by 3 points and there's a drive at the end of the game, guess what? Pass interference, you cannot even give them a sliver of a benefit of the doubt. You have to be 100% on your game and play tight because if you even do one slight little thing that isn't called 99% of the time, this will be the one when it is. So hopefully, again, the Bills are able to keep their heads on straight. And I think that is the key to the game. We've seen that all year, really. When the Bills play, and I said this in the offseason, it's a different style of offense. We're not trying to score and run and get 2-minute offense on the field and throw the ball down the field. No, it's much more of a controlled pace, right? Run the ball, mix it up, short passes, take what's given to you, find the open receiver, run if you need to as a quarterback, right? Just control the ball, long sustained drives. Yeah. Don't turn the ball over and really, keep the ball in your possession, play your game. Don't worry about the scoreboard and the defense. Just keep it together on offense. And that's, when the Bills have won and they've won 8 games, that's exactly what they've done. And then into 2 losses, we've seen them get out of that and try and throw the ball deep and, mess themselves up and get in their own heads, basically. And that could happen against the Chiefs, right? This is the biggest team there is to play in the NFL. So if you're mentally thinking about that, then it's going to mess with you. Sean McDermott is going to have this team ready as if this is just another regular season game, because it is, and try and talk them down off the cliff to say, forget who's over there, forget what the history is, just play this game and play our style, and you'll be able to win. And that's, what I truly think will happen, because even though the Chiefs defense is really good, our offense is capable of breaking through that. And does that mean we're going to score on every drive? No, I don't think so. But you certainly are going to be able to, at some point, be patient. Like you said, be patient, sustain drives. You're going to have to punt a few times, but be patient and break through. And when it's there, take it and get on the scoreboard, and then let your defense take care of business on the other side.
It'll be interesting to see how the Chiefs play the Bills, right? I mean, we always had Diggs as the deep threat, right?
Mm-hmm.
If Kincaid's out, that's another factor. So will Kansas City drop people in the box and try to stop James Cook? That's the big question, right? Because you're looking at the Bills. How are you going to play the Bills? James Cook is really providing a lot of balance this year. The offensive line's playing well. They're running the football very effectively, and I feel like the Chiefs may adjust their game plan compared to what we've seen in the past because of that. They're going to challenge them to throw it deep.
Yes.
And what happens, you know, deep passes are low percentage plays, right? So, you know,
Certainly.
if you challenge them to do that and they miss on a few of those, you know, you'll typically punt and the Chiefs get the ball back. So I think if I'm looking at it from the Chiefs' perspective, you're probably your number one priority is to stop James Cook, right? And you're going to challenge Amari Cooper or Mac Hollins or Khalil Shakir to beat you deep. And the way the Chiefs have been playing, I don't know. That's going to be a challenge for the Bills, I feel like.
True, but and again, they're able to get pressure, they're able to stop the run, but you have to again be patient and take what's given to you. And I think the X factor of that, if they load the box, then Josh Allen's going to be able to roll out, you know, and maybe run himself, right? If they're going in thinking it's a handoff to James Cook, Josh Allen can roll out and just go down the sideline and get 8 yards of play, right? And run out of bounds and not even get touched. So, you know, those type of plays are important in this game, and feeling that out as the game is going. Oh, this is what you want to do? Okay, we're just going to do our thing. And the one thing that has irked me all season long with this Bills team is it's like Sean McDermott makes a game plan, right? For all teams do when you start the game, like, oh, okay, this is what we're going to do to start the game. And I said this week, like, I am through with Sean McDermott's game planning. Whatever the game plan is, rip it up, throw it out the window, and just forget that and play football. Like, don't even game plan. Don't come up with your 10 plate. No, because it has not been working for you offensively or defensively. Like, no, take the game plan, then rip it up, throw it out the window, and let the players play football. Do not use the game plan. Do not use the game script. Just play your style of football. It's week 11. We know who this team is. We know what our identity is. We can run the ball a lot. We can pass short completions and yards after catch to continue a drive into a touchdown even when we're backed up, right? That's what you have to do. You can't come in thinking these are going to be our first 3 plays and we'll try this and then we'll do this. And defensively as well. I mean, I don't know what defensively has been going on, but it just always seems like the other team gets points on their first drive or has an amazing first drive, and then the Bills respond. And
right, they're
it seems like
slow.
The last 4 games, it's really been halftime, and then it's a totally different team. Then we're a shutdown team. We make those halftime adjustments and then become a shutdown team. And, you know, you can't do that against a team that is the caliber of the Chiefs because you'll be down 21
makes the right decision every time.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah, he had a lot of interceptions, but still, they're not trying to do too much. He usually takes the right decision. You know, we could talk about receivers for them and where the ball bounces, things like that. But, you know, Mahomes knows what he's doing. He's going to make the good decisions. So, yeah, you can't really afford to, you know, get too creative, to your point. All right, Sandra L. King, kicker is out for Kansas City, is out with an injury.
Yes,
this is actually huge
today.
This is actually huge because you think back, every time Kansas City plays the Bills, the kicker for Kansas City has been absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah,
right?
And he makes a game-winning or game-impactful kick always because they're close games, right? So that definitely matters. And I was, you know, texting with my friends today saying that's going to matter. You know, that's actually impactful because you're talking about if they miss an extra point, that's going to be huge, right? That's going to be a huge advantage for Buffalo. If they're in a 4th down situation where they're 4th and 2, but it's, you know, close enough where they would let Butker go for it, they're probably not going to let the kicker they bring in just go for it, right? They're going to have to keep the offense on the field and hope that they can complete it. And the Bills defense has been phenomenal against 4th down plays. So I think this plays very well into the Bills' hand, especially at home, because, you know, number one, it takes away you're going to lose the last second field goal. Not that the guy, whoever they bring in, is going to be able to do that. Obviously, they can.
So they're bringing in Spencer Schrader
from the Jets practice squad.
From the Jets, right? And he was kicked for the Jets last week in Arizona. 25 years old. Jets tried to keep him. But yeah, the Kansas City got him off the practice squad. But anyway, look, kicking in Arizona, totally different experience than kicking in Buffalo, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what the weather will be. It's a little windy this time of year. But the fans here are going to be so wild in this game that I feel like this kicker, who hasn't kicked all year except for last week in Arizona when the Jets were getting their asses whooped.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be different for him. There's going to be pressure on this
Oh
kid.
yes. Oh yeah.
So I
He's
feel like
gonna
the
miss.
Bills, he could miss a few field goals here, right? And I think that would be a huge swing in a game like this, where I expect it to be close and competitive, even though everyone's saying it doesn't matter. They're rivals, right? They both want to win this one. You know the Bills want to win this one. So I think there's a lot of added pressure to the kicking situation, in my opinion.
Yes, and it does change the Kansas City game plan for those, 4th and short in Bills territory situations. And, we'll see if the Bills continue to be good at that. I mean, we know we're going to see it. It's going to come down to that. And Andy Reid isn't afraid to go for it, especially when you have the type of offense that he does. Yeah, so we hope that I think that this is actually a big factor in the Bills' favor for this one. And that news just came through today.
Right. Yeah, could be big. So what are you thinking? Kansas City at Buffalo, Kansas City +2 at Buffalo. What's your pick? What's your score?
I trust the Bills to win this game. I just think we have the better team. We're playing at home. Objectively, I think the Bills should win. I also think that the Bills are capable of putting up more than 28 points. We've scored 30 or more, in 4 straight games now or something like that. It's this offense, I think, will put up 31 points against Kansas City. Now, will that be enough? Yes, I think so, based on the production of the Kansas City offense. So my final score is 31-23, I think. And it's going to be a missed extra point, not extra field goals from the Kansas City kicker. So, I think that ends up being the final score.
Yeah, fair. And Pat Mahomes has thrown an interception in every game.
Yeah. Yes.
What week are we in now? But anyway,
turnovers will be a factor for sure.
In every game except the last 2, he's had an interception. So I feel like this Bills defense, they're going to be ready. They're going to be flying around, and it's not like the Bills defense doesn't really have, in the secondary at least, doesn't have like an individual, great cornerback or anything like that. But the communication, the way they work as a team, I feel like is second to none in the league, right? If we can get some pressure from Von Miller and Oliver, which I expect, I expect Pat Mahomes to make some mistakes, right? And I feel like, to your point, if the Bills just make good decisions throughout the day, Josh takes the check down, doesn't get too antsy, takes what the defense gives him. I feel like the Bills could win this one, with the long sustained drives, right? So I like 27-17 Bills.
Very nice.
Love it. And I'm reluctant to say this, but really, you can almost see this like being kind of a larger win, because usually these games are really close. It comes down to the last drive. But I feel like with the kicking situation, with the mistakes that the Chiefs have been making, you got DeAndre Hopkins, who just got there, right? You have receiver issues. You have running back issues. Kareem Hunt's been good for them, but he's only been there a few weeks.
Yeah, right.
I feel like this could be a little more dominant for the Bills because it's at home. So I'm going to go 27-17 Bills.
I love that score. I think that would be great as well. Sign me up. Yeah, look at Christopher in the chat too. 34-27 Buffalo. I love that too. Yeah.
This one feels like if the things go the Bills' way, this could be more of a blowout than we've seen in previous matchups, right? Because this is different. Going to Kansas City and the Bills find a way to win, obviously that's going to be a close game because the fans are a big factor in that type of game, right? But now that's switched. Pat Mahomes has to come to Buffalo, and I get it. He did it last year in the postseason, but like the regular season, it's not as important to him, right? So I think it could have a bigger impact in this type of game, honestly.
Hopefully, we'll see.
All right,
only
so we got
one
Commanders.
Game,
go ahead.
I was just going to say only one game, but it does have its implications. So we don't have to overemphasize the impact of this game, but it does matter in terms of the seeding and long term. We don't have to be as depressed after losing this game if that happens, right?
Well,
full expectation
it's
is
more like, okay, this Bills team is good, which I think a lot of us turnover year didn't know what to expect. This team's good, right? Now, how much of that's AFC East being weaker? How much of that's the Bills are actually good? Because Baltimore whooped their ass, and really They should have beat the Texans, but didn't. Right? Texans wanted to lose that game so bad. So it's another measuring stick type game. Now you're lined up with the only undefeated team in the NFL, the Super Bowl champs, coming into your place. How far can the Bills go in the playoffs? And I think this is a good measuring stick of that to see, what needs to be worked on from now until the playoffs.
Yes.
Because this is absolutely a big challenge for them, right?
Agreed.
So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. All right, let's go through our picks. Every single game for the week, starting with Commanders at Eagles, Washington plus 4.5 at Philadelphia. Washington currently up 7-0.
Yeah, my pick was the Eagles in this one. The Eagles are one of the hotter teams right now in the NFL, and I just think so is Washington. However, Washington coming off a loss, I think Philly at home ends up being the differentiating factor here. Washington will put up a fight, but I like the Eagles to win by more than 4.5. So I took the Eagles, and the Eagles minus 4.5. I do think they win by a touchdown when it's all said and done. Big game. I expect a big game from Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown and Saquon Barkley.
I mean,
all the offensive players. It's going to be a high scoring game.
Oh, dude. Eagles are absolutely stacked. You think of like Cooper DeJean, Quentin Mitchell. I mean, they have so much talent that if you ask me, a team this talented, they need new coaching. You know what I mean? This roster is a dream roster if you're the Philadelphia.
Sure.
But I also think the Commanders are extremely well coached. Right, and their fan base is hyped, right? So I think this is going to be a close one. I think 2017, when it's all said and done, take the Eagles to win, but Washington covers. All right, Packers at Bears, Green Bay minus 5.5 at Chicago. Chicago been struggling lately. Just fired the OC,
to say the least, yeah.
Which is such a panic move, but I mean, if it's not working, it's not working. Got to make a move. I get it. Nobody wants to see their rookie quarterback digressing.
Yeah.
At this point in the season. But that's what happened. And someone's got to be blamed for that.
Right. And Green Bay, a team coming off rest, getting, I think that offensively they're getting things together now that Jordan Love is back. This is kind of a good matchup for them at a good time. The Bears are not in a good place. Green Bay, I think is going to show the power of their offense, both in the run game and the pass game. Chicago's offense just hasn't been able to do anything, and Green Bay's defense has been good this year. So I like Green Bay by more than a touchdown. So this 5.5 point line is definitely too low for me. And until Chicago shows some sign of life, yeah, I got to go with the other team here. So Green Bay, I think, is a really good team, a playoff caliber team. And yeah, 5.5 isn't enough for me. So give me Green Bay, to win by a touchdown or more.
Yeah, and this game's interesting because, Bears have lost 3 in a row. They're 0-4 on the road. However, this one's at home where they're 4-1. Right? And you fired your OC. Like, it's a good opportunity for everybody to just say, hey, we're still in this thing. The offense will probably have a little bit of fire. New guy coming in. Hey, this is my show now. I think it's going to be close. Well, I picked the Bears to win. I just feel like the Packers are better, but I just feel like this is going to be closer than people think. So I'm going to go again, 14-17, Packers win. All right, Jaguars at the Lions. Jacksonville plus 14 at the Lions. I think Trevor Lawrence out for the season.
No, he's out again this week. They haven't said he's out for the season, although they might do that just so they could tank and get the number 1 pick. So, yeah, I think they're in position actually right now for the number 1 pick, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, I mean, Detroit is going to have a field day with this team. Mac Jones at quarterback again. Lions defensively, offensively, a juggernaut in the NFL. Jags can't seem to do anything right, so I think Jacksonville wins huge, or the Lions win huge and shut down Jacksonville, and probably ends up being like a 35-3 score or something. Yeah, so 14 is normally I tell you 10 and above is like, whoa, wait a minute, but not in this case. Detroit playing at home. I mean, yeah, it's going to be a
Detroit's going to beat them up. Yeah, Mac Jones struggles to move the ball. We've seen that a million times. Jaguars haven't won a single game this year on the road. and you're playing arguably the best team in the league, right? I mean, that's the argument. I think the Lions are definitely in that conversation.
Certainly.
So big game for the Jaguars if you're trying to prove anything, but I think that might have passed already. Right? We're talking new coach, early pick, questions about Trevor Lawrence. All of it's on the table at this point.
Yeah, when do you fire Doug Peterson? Is the real question.
So
that's the
are
real
you going to
question.
rally and beat one of the best team in the NFL? It's just not going to happen. So I agree with you that the Lions win this one by at least 21. All right, Vikings at the Titans. Minnesota -6 at Tennessee.
Yeah, Vikings underwhelming.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, Sam Darnold coming back down to earth, right? That's more of the storyline. Yeah. And the Titans, obviously, not much to play for right now, but still playing okay. They're not as pathetic as, say, the Jaguars or anything else. And they're at home. I think this is more about Minnesota, though. The focus is on, can Minnesota get it together? Can Sam Darnold play normal? Not even explosively like he was to start the season, but he just can't be as bad as he was the last couple losses they've had here. And I think that they will find the middle ground. The Vikings will find the middle ground here and win by more than a touchdown. So I actually like this game. I like Minnesota. Yeah. So I think they'll get it done. They'll find their weapons. They'll find the run game, balance attack versus Tennessee, and get back on track.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to let me know your opinion, because I have Sam Darnold in a very important fantasy football league. And I've been riding with him because he's been good, right? He's been good.
Yeah.
But again,
not so much last week, but
coming back down to earth, there's concerns, right? There's a reason this guy's been a backup, right? But again, it feels like it's been different this year with Justin Jefferson. Maybe the Minnesota offense is starting to get figured out a little bit. That could be some of it. But again, I think Minnesota's defense, the running game, they can definitely move the football, and Sam Darnold's good enough for them, right?
Yes.
So I think that works. Whereas Tennessee, are we even paying attention to Will Levis's development anymore? I feel like we've just fallen off the train. This guy's not going to be able to play in the league long term. That's kind of where we're at right now.
At least not in this offense. It doesn't seem so.
Right.
No.
Yeah. It's going to be a major overhaul for him. It's going to be an uphill climb, So what are you playing for? That's what I have questions with the Titans. So give me the Vikings. I think they win by 21.
Whoa, big win. Yeah,
I think so. All right, Raiders at the Miami Dolphins. Las Vegas +7.5 at Miami. Miami now, let's see. Oh, they won one game in a row. I thought it was two. It's
no. They have 3 wins. They've only won the one. They played us before that, so they definitely didn't win that game. This is a matchup where I really want to pick the Raiders to win. And I just can't get myself there because the Raiders haven't shown enough, and the Dolphins have those weapons and haven't lived up to their expectations. So I think the line is too much, though. So I'm taking the Raiders +7.5, but I expect Miami to win the game by 3 or 4 points. So that's why I'm taking Vegas for the points. But Miami, they had a big win against the Rams, but now the Raiders, they could beat them, but I'm not quite there to pick them yet.
Yeah, it's a big line. It has me a little nervous, but I feel like Miami, you got to win, right? You got to win last week. So if you're going to turn this thing around, there might be a little momentum in the locker room. Whereas the Raiders, I have no idea who they're turning to. Can't sustain drives. Defense isn't good. They've lost 5 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
I think Miami wins by 14.
Okay.
The home game, you still have a lot of weapons on that team. Tyreek Hill is really just starting to get going. But I think that could flip the score, right? A team that's not playing for anything and lost 5 in a row versus, Miami, who, if they win this one, the conversation starts to open back up. Can they get back in this playoff race? And when you have weapons like Tyreek Hill, right, Achane, Moser, I mean, it matters. So I think Miami wins by 14. All right, Rams at the Patriots. Rams -4.5 at the New England Patriots.
Yeah,
storyline. Probably Drake May doing okay.
Yeah, right. He's been looking well, right? If I'm a Patriots fan, I am super excited, right? Because you knew this season wasn't going to be about wins. It's about the development of the quarterback. and he's definitely showing you pieces of he can play at this level and he's going to be good, right? So I think that is ahead of schedule even on this season, that you're already like, great, just let him continue to grow and play and make awesome plays and lose games, right? They won last week, but lose some games because it helps them in their draft stock, right? So this is a game. The Rams, I mean, you lose a potential game-changing or season-changing game last week to Miami. You just couldn't get the ball in the end zone. You kicked 5 field goals, I think it was. They had 15 points. You can't settle for those types of scores, right? And especially when you have the weapons that the Rams do. And in this game against New England, it's more of the same to me. They have a good defense, better than Miami, I would say, in some aspects, but you still have to exploit it because you have the better players, right? Puka and, Kupp. I mean, you've got to get the ball to these playmakers and let them do their thing in the run game. So ultimately, I do think the Rams win the game. The 4.5 is a little scary to me, but I think the Rams win by a touchdown. So I'm taking the Rams and the Rams minus 4.5.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with you there. I think the Rams pull this one out close. Touchdown feels right to me. But what concerns me. It's a long ways to travel, right? Probably the longest in the NFL, LA to Boston, right? And the Rams really haven't been playing that good, right? They have not been playing that well. With Cooper Kupp coming back, they have Puka back. It just doesn't feel the same. Doesn't feel like the same old Rams team that we're used to. However, they are so close in this divisional race. I mean, they're 4-5. They're game back from the 49ers. They're just a game or two back from the Cardinals, game and a half. So I mean, they're in it, right? There's motivation there. So I like the Rams by 7. All right, Browns at the Saints. Cleveland -1 at New Orleans. Is there bad matchups this week? Is it just
what is this? Yeah, right. Like what? Huh? I mean, you got the Bills Chiefs, and on the other side,
the Jameson
Browns.
Williams?
Yeah, yeah,
Jameis Winston revenge game.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah,
there we go.
Jameis Winston returns to New Orleans as part of the Browns. I can't stomach this game here, right? The Saints actually come out and win after basically saying, "Meh, our season's kind of over." The Browns obviously haven't lived up to expectations, but then they make the quarterback change, then they look good, then they flop. I mean, it's just so hard to know what to expect here. I think Nick Chubb is the X factor for me. I'm going to pick Cleveland to win. It's basically a pick 'em with the 1-point spread. So
is
give me
this Nick
Cleveland
Chubb's
winning
first
a close
week
one.
back?
Second week back. He was back last week.
Yeah,
and so I think he's revving up the engine here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to take a while.
And this is a weak Saints. You can run the ball again. I think, that's why I expect a bigger game from Nick Chubb. Let the offense go through Nick Chubb. And yeah, I mean, Alvin Kamara is capable of doing the same. So you could tell me the other way, and I'd say, okay, this is not one that I'm putting money on. Let's put it that way. I'm avoiding this game because I think it could go either way.
Yeah, I feel like the Browns, 2-7 for them has got to be. And I mean, there was expectations there, right? So this is almost like the Jets story, which we talk about every single year. The Jets and the Browns, the new quarterback, the great roster. But I'm telling you, there's something wrong with the organizations.
Yeah.
No quarterback can succeed in both of these organizations. Like, it's no longer about, this quarterback could change everything. It's like, no, it's just, you can't really blame Deshaun Watson or Aaron Rodgers at this point. You know what I mean? The organizations just don't have, I don't even know what it is. It's bad ownership, whatever it is. But like, they simply cannot be competitive in the NFL the way they're being run. That's just what it is. That's all I have to say about the Browns and the Jets this year.
Yeah.
Because both teams have great rosters. It's, they both had good coaching, I thought. But anyway, Browns being outscored by, 213 points allowed, 148 points for. I feel like the Saints, they have their ups and downs, but at times they look really good. So I like the Saints in this one, especially at home.
There you go.
All right, Bills, Chiefs, we already talked about. Just one more point. Bills are undefeated at home as well.
Oh,
right.
That's a big plus. Yep.
So I'll take the Bills in that one. Ravens at Steelers, another huge matchup in the week.
Wow.
Baltimore -3 at Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
This is for the division, right? This is
yes, yeah, they're both up there for the division. If Steelers win, they would technically be the division leader, uh, but because they have, I think, one more loss than Baltimore, right? So that's where they're at now. But I do think Baltimore finds a way. This is going to be another gritty game, in my opinion. I just think when it comes down to it, Baltimore's offensive firepower outweighs the Steelers' defensive firepower in my mind. So I think it ends up being a close game, but I'll take Baltimore -3. I think they end up winning by at least 4 points, 20-24 or something like that.
I mean, if you told me the Steelers would be 7-2, win 4 games in a row at this point in the season, I'd call
You're
you crazy.
crazy. Yeah.
And I'd probably tell you that Justin Fields actually became a quarterback, but that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like Baltimore. I just feel like, look, Pittsburgh's well coached, defense is good every year, but I feel like they're just set up to control a football game. You know, they can beat you in a lot of different ways. So I'll take Baltimore on the road here. All right, here we go. Atlanta Falcons at the Denver Broncos. Denver really surprised people a lot this year.
Yeah.
Atlanta +2 at Denver.
Yeah, I don't understand this line actually. You know, sure, Denver's been playing well, but they aren't that good. And Atlanta, disappointing week last week, but when you just look at the potential of both of these teams, I'm Atlanta all the way. The fact that Atlanta's getting points, I know this game is in Denver, but I am sorry. I think that the Falcons offense will succeed against this Broncos defense. And, you know, the Broncos offense hasn't exactly been blowing things up. They've just made a few good plays here and there and played good on defense. So I think Atlanta wins this game comfortably, and to be getting points to me is crazy. So although they disappointed me last week, I am taking Atlanta with the points. Props to Bo Nix. I love Bo Nix. I said that he would be a factor in fantasy later in the year, which now it is, and he is. But, you know, I just don't think that translates to winning games. Obviously, what happened last week with Kansas City at the end of the game, you know, wasn't his fault necessarily, but there was a whole game before that where it could have been. And you can't overlook the Falcons.
No, I agree. But just looking at the Broncos playoff chances.
They're the 7th seed right now in the AFC.
Right, which is very surprising.
Looks after like the top tier of teams.
42% to make the playoffs, which, you know, with a rookie quarterback, with, you know, guys on defense you can't name except for one guy, Pat Surtain. I mean,
it's pretty amazing. Yeah.
They're being well coached, so give them credit. But I just think Atlanta's the better team all the way around. They're more balanced, a lot more weapons. So I like Atlanta in a close one. I'm thinking 23-20. Okay. Atlanta pulls this off.
That's enough.
Seattle at San Francisco. Seattle +6.5 at San Francisco.
Yeah.
Big game, right? There's that race is close in the NFC West.
Yeah, another divisional matchup. Two teams who have been disappointing of late, but the X factor for me is Christian McCaffrey coming back for San Francisco. He played last week. He looked good. I think he only looks better this week. Seattle, even though they're capable of playing well, still disappointing. And against this 49ers team, especially in San Francisco, you know, I have to give the edge to San Fran. I think they win by at least 10 points in what ends up being a closer game than the final score indicates in my mind. So, yeah, I'll take San Francisco -6.5.
And this is a huge game, right?
Oh, yeah. If Seattle could find a way to win, they would overtake them.
49ers 5-4, Seattle 4-5. You know, I think Seattle gives a really big effort here, right? And they beat San Francisco, you know, in San Francisco a lot. So I like Seattle. I'm going to take Seattle 24-17 on the road. They're due for a big win, right? This team's been pretty disappointing to this point. Think about it, they can run the ball. They got good receiver talent. Their secondary is super talented. Maybe need some help on the offensive defensive line. But again, you know, I like what Seattle has. This is the moment for them to get their season back on track. They'd go from the 4 spot in the NFC West to the 2 spot. I mean, this is the game that could, you know, turn their season around. So I think that's what the message is in the locker room, and I think they pull off the upset here.
I like it.
Seattle's been burning me this year, though.
Yeah, right.
Overall.
They've been
All right.
inconsistent for sure.
Colts at the New York Jets. Indianapolis +4 at the Jets.
Well, I'm picking Indy. The Jets are a goddamn dumpster fire, just as I told you, Eric, from the preseason when everybody was picking them and you were on that train too. I just don't think the Jets are an organization that is built to win anything. Aaron Rodgers is washed. We saw that consistently this season. He had one good game against New England early on before New England found its stride and was playing well. So, one of the worst teams in the league at that point. The Jets are terrible and they think they're going to win. They think they keep, oh, maybe if we add this, oh, maybe if we do that, oh, maybe if we pay this guy. No, your problem is your quarterback. You suck. Your team sucks. Everything about your organization sucks. And I've been the guy saying that from day one when everybody was crowning them. No, they suck and they're showing it. Thank you and good night. Indy is not a great team. They're switching back to Anthony Richardson at quarterback, which sure he gives you some of the run ability and the big play ability down the field, I think, but still playing like a rookie. And ultimately, I think they pull out the win here in a low scoring game, like 13-10 or something, and they're getting points. So give me Indy. I like it.
Yeah, it's a tough one to call. Indy's 1-4 on the road. They've lost 3 in a row. Going back to Anthony Richardson is the right move, right? Yeah, you stirred things up with Joe Flacco. They thought they had a chance to, make the playoffs. I don't know where that came from. Just the quarterback, Anthony Richardson, is younger than a lot of the guys even coming into the league this year, right? So you got to stick with him. He needs the reps, right? So you're in the New England's category where you're not really playing to win. You're playing to develop. And because both teams are so bad on the road, I'm taking the Jets at home. Again, touchdown game. I'll go 17-10 Jets.
Thank you for picking the Jets, ensuring that they will lose.
Yeah. I don't even know what to say about the Jets. I mean,
Again,
I go on these rants every single week. But again, last year when they won 7 games with defense only, they didn't even convert a third down for like 5 games.
They're pretty much exactly the same team that they were with Zach Wilson at quarterback.
They're worse. They're worse.
They're worse. It's incredible.
I can't explain that from a fan perspective. I cannot explain how they're worse this year.
Production-wise.
And you fire the coach week 5. I just can't.
Yeah. It hasn't looked better. That didn't help you at all.
There's no logic going on, right? And there's no logical decisions being made inside the organization. And I think that's why I can't make sense of it, honestly. Anyway, Bengals at Chargers, Cincinnati +1.5 at the Chargers.
This is a good matchup. The Chargers are playing well and they're at home, but Cincy has just been missing by like an inch, right? Their record could be flipped, right? So I think Cincy pulls out a win here. They should get T. Higgins back this week, which might be that X factor that they need. Although the Chargers have been playing well on defense and offense, balanced, I think that this opponent is a desperate one, right? Cincy knows you lose this game, your season's basically over. So I think that the Bengals are going to play with all their might and they're going to get a big game and, pull off the W here.
I mean, we're potentially looking at Zach Taylor playing for his job, coaching for his job. Maybe.
I didn't think of it that way, but
heard a few rumors, but not too many. But yeah, Bengals are much better on the road than they are at home. However, the Chargers 3-1 at home. They've won 3 in a row. I mean, this isn't the same Chargers team. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
But this is a good test for them because we say it every week, Cincinnati's desperate. And I think every game they've lost recently has been extremely close. So yeah, I like Cincinnati. I feel like the Chargers are a good team. They're trending in the right direction. But I mean, are they ready to go toe-to-toe with the best in the AFC? I'm not sure if they're there yet. And is Cincinnati one of the better teams in the AFC? I think they are. But again, things haven't gone their way this year. Really slow start like they normally do. And then just lost some really close games that maybe they should have won. It'd be a different story if they won a few of those. You know what I mean? So
1 or 2 of them, yeah.
Right. But that's just what it is.
That's how the NFL goes. Yeah, you have to win this game if you're Cincy.
Yeah.
You have to.
Otherwise, season done, right? Anyway. All right, last game on the slate here. Texans at the Dallas Cowboys. Houston -7.5 at Dallas. Dak Prescott getting surgery.
Yeah. Again,
done for the
out for
year.
the season. This is, the battle for Texas isn't so exciting anymore, right? So Houston, yeah, they've had their injuries, but Nico Collins expected to be active for this game. Was very upset in fantasy last week that they activated him to the roster and did not play him because that made no sense to me. And I had him in fantasy and had to make emergency subs last second and drop some guys. Anyway, they should have Nico Collins playing again this week, which is a huge X factor for them, no matter what the circumstance would be. But playing against Dallas, who is, starting Cooper Rush and, looks lost out there on
Right.
offense now.
No run game to turn
Already had
to.
no run
Right.
game. Now they've got no pass game. I
Right.
don't care how well their defense plays, they are not winning this game. So give me the Texans -7.5. I think they win. They could end up winning it by 20.
Yeah, Texans got to win this one. They've lost 2 in a row. But again, this is a good opportunity for them to get back on track. If the Texans lose this game, now I'm concerned about the Texans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would be big for Buffalo because it's an NFC opponent beating an AFC opponent with a head-to-head record versus the Bills.
But I do feel like Houston's defense will be ready. It'll be a really big challenge for
yes.
Cooper Rush. So I think the Texans could win this by 14.
Yeah, that's the Monday night matchup too. So crazy.
All right, let's check on the Thursday night football score.
Still 7-0 Phillies.
7-0.
Oh, Phillies on the goal line here.
Okay.
So they're ready to go, I think.
Okay.
They're on the 3-yard line, it looks like, yeah. Third
right.
and goal.
I guess we'll go watch the game.
Jalen Hurts. Incomplete pass.
Okay.
So 4th and goal, looks like they're going to kick the field goal probably just before the end of the half. 22 seconds left in the half. So, yeah. 7-3 if they make the field goal.
All right, so I guess we'll jump out of here. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see us every single Thursday.
Woof. What
John
a game.
Robert, Christopher C. Billow, appreciate the participation tonight. Be sure to hit the like button, and we will see you next week.
Yeah, thanks for kicking it with us. Go Bills. Remember, I'll be at the game. Come to the Built-in Buffalo tailgate at the Big Tree Inn. I'll be there.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.